One thing that really pissed me off in college was seeing the really lazy kids pass and be successful. And this was a turning point for me because I started to realize that there was something more important than grades in the world, and that was relationships, it was connections. And a lot of the people who were lazy in school were actually really great talkers. Now, I'm not saying there's a correlation there. You could have a really outgoing social person who's also a book whiz. That's totally plausible, but in my experience, the very smart guys that I met in school were very introverted. And if they weren't introverted, they were at least a little awkward when they talked. And I've found that of the 10 or so people I can name off the top of my head who I thought were truly like borderline genius or straight up geniuses, like they had insanely good photographic memories, and they could, I mean, they could read a whole book in one sitting and tell you everything about the book. Like they could almost read it back to you by memory. Those are the guys I'm talking about. Almost every single one of those that I can think of had some sort of quirk socially. And these guys that were just scraping by, like just barely doing enough, ended up still passing because they were gregarious, because they were socially just, I don't know, they were social butterflies. And I really have no other way to explain it. And they were able to talk their way through and buddy up with the people who were grading tests. We used to have TAs who would grade a lot of our tests, and especially in like my statics, mechanics classes, like your kind of prereq engineering courses, these guys were getting D's and F's, and our professors, or more specifically our TAs who were working for the professors, were letting them off. They were giving them bonus points and just crap that should have never been allowed. Because our field in particular, and this is the case for a lot of professions, but ours in particular involves life and death situations quite a bit. Petroleum engineers, right, for the most part, work on rigs somewhere where you're drilling or maintaining the flow of oil, and those are very dangerous situations. If you don't know what you're doing, you could kill people, and that's happened several times in the past. That's one of the reasons why petroleum engineers have a bad rap, because anytime something bad happens with us, it's all over the news. It could happen once every decade, but it's all over the news because typically people die. And that was something I really didn't appreciate about the curriculum, was that too many people were being allowed to pass. And these people were the most social, outgoing, friendly people you'd ever meet. And they used that to their advantage in college. And I always hated it. But then I started to realize, especially after graduating, I started to realize that that was probably more important and probably a smarter play than the person who just decided to focus on grades and that's it, and not build relationships. Now, I'm not saying that they did it the right way. I still think that some of those people should have failed, that some of those social butterflies who really didn't give a crap about studying and got by with D's and sometimes F's that were upgraded to C's because C's allowed you to pass. I started to realize that those people were the ones that were actually landing the jobs. And so there's a balance for sure. But I think that just if you had to choose fully investing in one or the other, it's a tough one. And that's sad to say. Like, you would think like the obvious answer would be, oh, get good grades, study your ass off, and that's going to make you successful in life. You know, your GPA is a reflection of your income, of your success in life. That is not true at all. That's coming from someone who graduated engineering school with a 3.6 and had no job offers. Now, granted, I wasn't really trying at that point. The main YouTube channel, Science Studio, was starting to become popular-ish. We were making enough money basically for me to not want to go into the field. So the fact that I didn't have any prospects in the field, right, as a petroleum engineer, really didn't upset me. I didn't try as hard as I should have, but I was still kind of surprised that I didn't receive any offers, or that I didn't receive any callbacks to my inquiries about a job. And a lot of the people who I thought there's no way these guys will ever have jobs because they have shitty GPAs, those guys are out there making six figures now. They're making 120 grand with 20K signing bonuses and probably making more money in overtime, working for Chevron, Exxon, and whoever. They know who they are. In fact, if they ever watch this video, they know exactly who they are. They squeaked by, and I don't believe they should have, but they played the game. And that's just something about our society, about this culture in particular, that I really hate. Because it's no longer based on merit. It's more or less based on who you know. And I'll tell you, the perfect combo is to be a bookworm, to be as close to a genius as possible, but to also take the extra time to build the social bonds, because those will last longer than any GPA you ever put on a resume. No, people are gonna, they're gonna breeze right over that. That's more or less like a, you either have it or you don't. If you meet this certain GPA threshold, you're good. They don't put you in piles anymore. They don't put you in the 3.0 GPA pile or the 4.0 GPA pile. They put you in, do these people know you? Have you worked with them in the past? Do you have work experience? And then that's kind of it. So the GPA is like a weed out, right? Having a degree is a weed out. The GPA is now the same way. And that is something that I wish, if I had gone back and could do it all over again, I wish I would have put more emphasis into that. So if you're going into college, or heck, if you're in high school, who cares? You start while you're young, get used to it, because building relationships are just such a powerful mechanism in today's society. Regardless of what industry you're going into, I would almost bet 10 times out of 10 that a strong relationship is going to get you further in life than a strong GPA. I'm not telling you to slack off in school. Don't be the guys that I hated in class who squeaked by and I didn't think they deserved to. Don't be like them. Be the guy that plays both sides of the table. Be the smart guy who's also a social butterfly, because that combo is deadly. Very few people have that combo, and I wish I had it. I wish I had it in school. So if it's something you think you can adjust to, then you've got really nothing to lose. And I'm sure many people will agree with me when I say that relationships are extremely powerful, and probably more powerful than the GPA on your resume. Thanks for watching. This is our third video on Satire Studio. I will catch you in the next one.